Wow. Hello, 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 everyone. Sky Houston here with Magic 102.1 as we are excited to continue the conversation. Listen, not only is it Women's History Month, but it just gives us another opportunity to talk about what's important to us as women. And today we talk about fibroids. Now, the last time we talked, we promised you that we will follow up the conversation about fibroids. And here we are. Our friends over at Alate Health have been celebrating women all month long during Women's History Month. And we thought it would be an honor to get back into that conversation to give women the resources that they need to lead a happy and healthy life. So I don't know if you recognized it or if you didn't catch the very first conversation. Nearly a quarter of Black women between the ages of 18 and 30 have fibroids. Yeah, it's astounding compared to about 6% of white women. Okay. So when it comes to fibroids, Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to develop them at younger ages. I can think of conversations I had in high school with friends who had it and had no clue of what was happening to their body. So that's another reason why I'm super excited to be the one having this conversation. So without further ado, I'd love to tell you who's on the conversation with us on today. Dr. Doe. Dr. Doe is going to be in the convo with us, board certified interventional radiologist over at Alate Health. I love Alate Health. Also, hey, Dr. Doe.
How you doing?
Wonderful. Also on the Alate team, we have Erica Tart, head of marketing and communications. Hey, Erica.
Hey guys, how are you? Thanks for having us today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, listen, I want to start off by welcoming Dr. Doe and just thank you, Dr. Doe, for supporting Magic 102's Women's History Month year in and year out, and just for always providing information. Like, you are a source of a wealth of information, and you always do it with a great spirit. So, Dr. Doe, tell me right now, what is research saying about Black women and how we're impacted more by fibroids?
Well, unfortunately, we know that you are impacted more. We don't know why. And obviously, there's probably some genetic component to it. And then there's always some environmental component as well. But unfortunately, we still aren't there yet.
All right. Well, I spoke last time, and some of the viewers right now may recognize her from being on last time. So I want to welcome on an ambassador, Miss Sonia Boyd. Are you there, Sonia? Can we bring Sonia up?
I am here.
Look at that beauty.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome, Sonia.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Wonderful. Now, Sonia, when we last spoke,
yes,
you took us back on your journey from your teenage years in motherhood and just your experience with dealing with fibroids. What was the moment that you said enough was enough? Like, I'm not going to just sit by the wayside going through this. Tell us a little bit more about your intimacy and just your personal relationship with fibroids.
Well, it started, as Dr. Doe had noted, between the ages of 30 to 35. I had the very long cycles, the bloating, the anemia, the pain, couldn't go to work, couldn't get out of bed, the whole nine. It was absolutely awful. But eventually I had to get up and go to work. And when I did that, one day I'm thinking I'm looking cute and walking into a meeting, and I had blood-stained skirt. And the gentleman was so nice. He said, "Ma'am, you've had an accident." And I didn't feel anything. And it was just like that. My clothing was soiled. It was running, unless we're being transparent, he was running down my leg. It was awful. So at that point in time, I decided that there was something, I needed to do something about this, and quickly to gain my quality of life, to gain back my womanhood, to gain back my sexual intimacy, because it was very painful having sex, or you were too tired, you had fatigue. And people think, oh, well, everyone has a cycle, it's a long period, it's not a big deal. That is not the truth. When you experience fibroids and you experience that fatigue, the place. It is unbearable. I'm so thankful for Dr. Doe, for Alate Health, and that we're having this conversation during Women's History Month. But we need to have this conversation consistently because people are ashamed, even in this day and time, still embarrassed to admit that they are suffering from fibroids. They don't want to admit it. And you're not alone. It's okay. You're not alone. You have help.
Yeah. I want to talk more about your situation with the other sex and dealing with fibroids. I want to talk more about that intimacy that you mentioned. But really quickly, Dr. Doe, what exactly is fibroids? We jumped right in, and we're assuming that everyone listening today understands and knows what fibroids is. Give us your definition of fibroids and just let us know a little bit more about it.
So fibroids are tumors. They're not cancer. They're just tumors that grow in the uterus of, and we don't know why they start growing. They don't serve any purpose, but as you've heard, they can definitely complicate not only your cycle, but your entire life.
Can you explain to those at home, like what the different types of fibroids are?
Yes, so we name the type of fibroid by where we find it within the uterus itself. So when we do the exams, ultrasounds, MRIs, we define the fibroid by where it's located and kind of the shape and what it looks like.
One more question, and this is off the wall. I know it's going to sound crazy, but what determines the size of a fibroid? Like sometimes I see a woman walking around like she has a watermelon in her belly and she's not pregnant. Like, what is going on with that scenario? And is that a real thing? Are they really that large sometimes?
Yes. So the entire uterus gets enlarged by the fibroids. And typically what we do is we tell you based on the MRI how big your uterus is. So it might be, hey, you're in your second trimester or third trimester even. And the size is determined by how many cycles you go through. So every cycle you have, these fibroids grow. And you can also get new ones. So there's only limited size within the pelvis. So as it gets bigger and bigger, you start to look more and more pregnant when you're not.
Is it wise to tell women who have no clue what's happening with their bodies? If you're noticing your stomach is growing, outside of just seeing your doctor to find out what's wrong, you could be walking around with this baby that you don't want, this baby fibroid, and you may want to look into it. Just don't settle for I'm just gaining weight, or I think we, especially Black women, we just pass it by as, oh, it's just this or that, or we self-diagnose. So is that an indication, or what should we do if we recognize one, or what? You tell me some of the symptoms, because I'm using my experience of friends' scenarios where there was pain, or their stomach just kept growing and they didn't know why, or their cycle never stopped. What are the signs? Remind us.
So typically you fall into one of two categories when you have fibroids. Patients that have a lot of heavy bleeding, a lot of cramping, maybe having pain with sexual intercourse. And then there's the other side where patients feel constantly full and bloated and pregnant even. And, patients will get either the heavy bleeding symptoms, or they'll get what we call the bulk symptoms, going to the bathroom all the time. Or unfortunately, some women get both because the fibroids get so big. And the question I always ask the patients is, would you want your daughter to go through what you're going through? And usually that can be the eye opener in saying, okay, this isn't just normal women's stuff. This isn't part of aging. This is abnormal. And the great thing is there's treatment for it.
You mentioned daughters. Is it hereditary?
Yes, it is. And I have plenty of patients who have come in with their mother, and their mother or even their sister said, wait a minute, I had to have a hysterectomy. Could I have done this? And unfortunately, we haven't done a good job as physicians, especially in the Houston area, of educating the public about this option. And too many women are going through the big hysterectomies, which is a much higher risk surgery than the UFE.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that. I want to delve more into exactly what you mean with this option. Today, if you're just joining us online, we're continuing the conversation about fibroids. It's Women's History Month, and we're spotlighting women, more importantly, African-American women, as it relates to fibroids and their bodies. So I want to double back to Sonia. Sonia mentioned it affecting her relationship. Now, Sonia, did you experience that scenario where you were walking around with an enlarged stomach and not knowing what it was? Tell us what happened to make it affect you and your partner at the time.
Well, okay, there we are. Well, I did know what was going on. I'll be honest with you. I was a workaholic. I didn't have time to stop and have a surgery or have it removed at the time, because I had my plans that were like 3 to 6 months out the way I was working, right? I was working in the O&G and energy sector. So you know how that was back then. So I didn't have time to stop. So, like women do, a lot of women do, whoever you are as a woman, we just keep going. We just, when we're strong, we keep moving. But that day, like I explained earlier, when I had going into a meeting with a blood-stained skirt and blood running down my leg, that was a decision. I had to really have a conversation with my manager at the time and take the time off to get that taken care of. And fortunately enough, I was married at the time, so I had my ex-husband was very understanding about what I had gone through or what I was experiencing. So we got educated together. And so if you are married or you have a significant other, I think it's very important that you get educated together, because they have, just like you don't have a clue what's going on, and no offense to you guys, they are completely clueless. All they know is they want what they want when they want it, and why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
So when you explain that I may look fine and I may look normal, but I am exhausted and I can't even really tell you why. It's not that I don't want to. I can't physically. I cannot engage in any type of intimacy. Get off me. I am tired and I am in pain. Love you, but no. So finally we did. We got educated together, and it was an eye-opener for him. And from that point on, he was probably more engaged in what was happening than I was, because like I said, I was busy, and he encouraged me, before that incident happened, to go get it checked out, because he was concerned about my health. I was a wife. I had a very active son at the time. So it was important for us to retain not only a quality of life for myself, but for my family. And I encourage women to do that. Don't waste another day on going to get yourself examined and educated about what's going on with your body.
Absolutely. I loved it. And I love the fact that you guys got educated together. Dr. Doe, I just want to ask you, what made you take this path? It's hilarious hearing Sonia talk about her husband and the male's thoughts on what's happening. But just on a personal note, what made you decide to go this lane of health and just wellness in general?
Well, I love technology, and I chose this specialty because it was offering the newest treatments, and these new treatments were keeping people out of surgery, out of that long recovery. They were really allowing people to get just as good an outcome without having to have a big downtime. And, the idea that we can do it through a catheter the size of the head of a pen, to me, was just mind blowing. And to see patients such as Sonia, do so well, was really all I needed to say, hey, this is up my alley. This is what I want to do.
What I hear you say, Dr. Doe, is that you care. Underneath all of that, the technical jargon and things that doctors bring, you care underneath that. And I wanted to get that across because people don't really care about what you know until they know how much you care. We've heard that 1,000 times, but it's true. So ladies and gentlemen out there tuning in, waiting for the information, Dr. Doe with Alate Health specializes in that non-invasive procedure, and it's called UFE. So Dr. Doe, can you tell them a little bit more about UFE and about the treatment a little more in depth, and how it prevents it?
Yes. So a long time ago, 30 plus years ago, the OBGYNs doing the hysterectomies for patients with fibroids found that these patients bleed a lot. So they asked the interventionalist, which is what I am, to slow down the blood flow. That's something we do routinely all the time. It was just applying it to this scenario, the heavy cycles in women. Once we did that, with the idea to make surgery safer, we found that women actually got better. And over the course of time, and since 2006, it's now been considered a first-line therapy. So we basically shut off the blood supply to the fibroids, leave the blood supply to the ovaries and the uterus and everything else alone, and the fibroids die, they shrink down, and patients do much better without having to have a big surgery such as a hysterectomy.
Nice. Now, Eric, are you still there?
I'm here. I'm in the background. I'm listening. I love it. This is good stuff.
The last time we talked, I'm glad you're still here. The last time we talked, the state of Texas had a whole lot of things in terms of regulations. Can you tell us the current things that are happening and what are the expectations for anybody wanting to schedule an appointment with Alate Health?
Yeah, I think during the last time we talked, it was definitely, during COVID or right after the initiation of COVID. But as far as Alate Health, we follow pretty much the state guidelines. But here at Alate Health, safety is our number one concern for everyone, including our staff. But more importantly, we have options. When COVID, hit us, we had a contingency plan. And our contingency plan at that point was to involve the use of televisit. So we have patients that can now book a televisit, if that's their preference, if they prefer to come online and have a consultation with Dr. Doe or Dr. Manavis, which is our other physician that specializes in the treatment of UFE. That's an option that they have. So we offer that. And then, of course, when patients come into the office, they have a mask. We do, definitely social distancing is still a top priority here that we practice. So, safety is not an issue. And we have booked quite a few televisits since COVID. It's actually been a driving force. I think also it gave people some time to be at home and do research online. So we've gotten quite a bit of online prospects and new patients that have been generated. And the televisits have also helped us cross patients from other markets, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and so forth. So it's really, really an avenue or a different lane that we've been able to market to, again, to get the information out to patients that, Alate Health, of course, is we specialize in a non-invasive procedure called UFE.
I'm glad you said in other markets because unbeknownst to me, my best friend tuned into the last conversation that we had. And she's in Austin.
Okay.
And I was so, I won't say disappointed, but she had already booked an appointment. I think it was a partial hysterectomy. And I was like, no, I don't want you to go through that. So I wish she had gotten more information on Alate Health beforehand, and that she knew that it isn't just for people in Houston. It doesn't matter where you're tuning.
Exactly.
Go to the Alate Health website.
We have people that travel. Again, a lot of the televisit offers the option where they can, get their initial things set up at their primary care doctor, or they can do a lot of things, prior to coming here. So we save them a lot of time by just doing the consultation and walking them through the process, and they can literally do everything, and then they can come here and we can plan it according to their schedule to do the actual procedure. But again, like Dr. Doe said, it's the inpatients, outside, we do it right here. And literally it's, as little as 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And that's a key advantage. Some women, they want to get back to normal life pretty fast. So there's nothing faster than, some of the options that we have and the benefits of doing a UFE inside of our facility. So I love that mission about it as well. And we have multiple locations as well.
And I can say I visited the Alate Health location here. I fell asleep on the table, guys. I wasn't getting surgery, but Dr. Doe made me so comfortable. I practically was ready to go to sleep. Really quickly, Dr. Doe, why do doctors immediately recommend hysterectomies? Like, why is that the go-to? Is it, are they not getting the training? Is it easier? Is there more money in that? Why?
So there's definitely more money in it for the hospitals because this is what really generates revenue for the hospitals. But I think the biggest thing that I run into is they're either physicians that are older and don't know the most up-to-date treatments, or if they don't know enough about it, they don't feel comfortable telling a patient about it, they just kind of ignore it and don't mention all the options you have. And then again, they're OBGYNs, so the hysterectomy is a treatment that they're trained in, that they have to offer. So a lot of them will just kind of stay within what they know and what they can offer.
Sounds like a comfort thing, unfortunately.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you're tuned in now, you see it scrolling at the bottom of the screen. You can get a free consultation with Alate Health. The number is there. The website keeps scrolling. Now, you guys, really quickly, last time we had plenty of people sending in comments and things as we were live. I wanted to go to a few of the questions from social media that we had last time. If you're tuned in right now and you have a question, feel free to send it in and I'll try to get it across to our team. So we promised we'd ask these though. So Dr. Doe, you can ask this. Do you recommend UFE if fibroids are 2.3C, and can you still get pregnant, as a question?
Yes, so you can still get pregnant. I have a lot of patients that have gotten pregnant after a UFE. The size of the fibroid doesn't really matter. It's more about the location of the fibroid. And we'll do an MRI, which will show us the exact location of the fibroid. We would base more of our which option is best for you on the MRI, more so than just the size of the fibroid.
Okay. And another question that we have sent in via social media, does insurance cover the procedure?
Absolutely. Insurance loves the procedure because shorter recovery time, less likely you'll have a complication and end up staying in the hospital longer. And the fact that it can be done as an outpatient right in the office versus having to go to a surgery center or a hospital.
And what are recovery times? What are possible recovery times for the procedure?
So typically, most of my patients tell me after about 3 days, they have kind of period crampy pain, but they can do pretty much anything they want. I've never had a patient take more than 10 days to recover.
Okay. Hi, Martha McLeod Lamonthis, who's online on Facebook. She says, can fibroids be cancerous?
So there are types of cancer that are similar to fibroids, but the MRI is very good and they can distinguish between those two very well.
Love it. Hello, everybody on Facebook. I see people tuned in from different places. Shaniqua says, love it. Great information. James Black, thank you guys for tuning in. Katrina says she knows someone who has severe pain from fibroids, but has no health insurance. Do they take indigent patients?
I'll address that a little bit. So Alate Health, of course, yeah, we offer a free consultation. So that's regardless if you have insurance or not. I always typically recommend that people come in and do the consultation, even if one, give you maybe an option to how to acquire insurance plan that could be covered by this procedure, that would cover the procedure. And number two is we do offer a payment plan option. It takes some time, or sorry guys, it takes some time. Let's see, my thing keeps popping out. Sorry about that. It takes some time, that payment plan, but we offer something. You do have to pay cash in advance, but we offer some payment options, but the consultation will go over that. So I would suggest if you don't have insurance to still make the consultation so we can try to get you the best option so that you could qualify for the procedure. Don't let that be a reason why you don't come in.
Katrina, you hear that? The information is below. Go ahead and schedule. Like Erica said, they do the virtual consultation. So please take them up on it. All right. I see Kimberly's asking, I haven't had a cycle since 2006, and doctors find it odd that I have so much pain and not have a cycle.
So patients with fibroids, even if, say, you go through menopause, you won't get any new fibroids, but the ones you have won't shrink down. And also some women that use certain birth controls don't have cycles, but they can still get cyclical pain because there's still other hormones that are changing during the month. So even if you go through menopause, you still can have the fibroids there causing you pain and problems. And if you're just using a birth control so you don't have cycles, these fibroids can still grow because you still have kind of fluctuations in your hormones, even though you're not having a cycle. So I definitely have a lot of patients that I've treated that no longer have cycles or postmenopausal. So you can be treated.
Now, Dr. Doe, I can imagine that you've seen some really out there stories or heard patients who come in with these out there stories about why it took them so long. So please indulge us. Tell us some of your favorite stories of women who finally came to you and were like so relieved, and the stories they gave of what took them so long.
Yes. So one of the things, whenever I sit and talk with a patient, I'll ask them, what products they use during their cycles. And I'll often say diapers. And a lot of patients they're kind of shocked. They're like, he's either on to me or, oh my God, people have to wear diapers. And one of the first patients I treated in Houston, like Sonia, professional woman, very busy, didn't have time to get this taken care of. And she said, the first day of my cycle, I just sit in bed. And then the second day of my cycle, usually by the end of it, I'm so bored and I love to run. I'll get up and I'll run on my treadmill until the blood comes up and over my diaper, and then I stop. And she said, the problem is it's getting shorter and shorter distance. So I said, I got to get this fixed.
Oh, wow. I don't want to wear a diaper.
Yeah. And you know what? It's funny you say that. I'm laughing because we mentioned right before we came on, Sonia's wearing white. And I think that's another thing. A lot of women that deal with, fibroids, they don't wear white. They stay clear from any light colors, especially white. It's good to even see her wearing whites. That's part of that being normalized again. Yeah.
I agree.
Now, Sonia, did you use, after your procedure, did you find yourself wanting or desiring a community of people who could kind of understand what your experience was after the fact? And if you did, where did you look for additional support? My best friend just told me she found a YouTube group that had gone through it. So what happens after the procedure, just personally as a human, what do you feel like after?
Well, I'm fortunate to support a family. I have a great sister and a great mom and great cousins. So my support was within my family, with my family unit, and with my friends, because like Dr. Doe said, it is genetic. So I had cousins who had already had the same experience that were older than me. So the experience, having those conversations with them, they were like, like we said before, I wish this found when I had fibroids, because most of them had hysterectomies. So we were able not only to talk about it amongst ourselves, but educate my nieces, our younger cousins, and explain to them, if you have any type of symptom, the first thing you need to do is go get an examination. Do not wait. Don't try to resolve the issue yourself. So we really supported one another in that, because it was unfortunately in our family. But here's the thing, we didn't really talk about it. I'm probably the most vocal person in my family to share that type of information. And when I did, everyone kind of like, oh, well, that happened to me too. And that happened to me too. And this is what's happening to me now. So we were able to actually support one another, and also make sure that not only amongst ourselves as a family unit, but sharing that information with other women. And that's what I do anyway. So I'm always going to encourage women to be well in every area of their life, especially their health.
I love it. That's one thing I believe culturally and historically, we do not share information. So again, if you're tuning in virtually with us, the conversation continues today. Martha had one more question. She says, can a fibroid start to protrude into the vaginal area?
Yes, this can occur, especially in women that have had multiple children. You get some, stretching out of the muscles down there. Like I said, every patient is unique, and once we get the MRI, we can have a better idea of what your best treatment option is. And that's one of the big things. I offer the UFE procedure, but that's not always the best procedure for you. And I always make sure to let my patients know what's the best avenue depending upon the outcome they're looking for as far as treatment goes.
All right. Again, contact them for consultation. If it's not you, if you know of anyone, family, friends, coworkers, whoever mentioned having any of the symptoms or thinking about it, send them to Alate Health. Have them have the conversation. We're having this conversation today so the conversation can continue and never be taboo, okay? There's never a time to think I'm alone or no one will understand. Dr. Doe can attest, he's probably seen it all, right?
When I think I have, I see something new.
Exactly. So thank you, guys. Thanks everyone again on this panel today for having the conversation. And I love that Alate Health does not stop. This isn't a one-time conversation. This will keep going with Alate Health because it's what they do. They want to see women healthy and they want to be of service. So please, you guys, take them up on it. So thanks again, Erica. I look forward to seeing you guys again.
Always.
Every time I come over, I get the pamphlet and I'm like, I have to keep this. I have to keep it close. Someone's going to need this info. So thank you again for your service.
No problem.
Sonia, thank you for sharing your story and being a willing testament every time. We love seeing you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
You're
so
welcome.
much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye now.
And thanks again, Dr. Doe.